So my next goal is to adjust the styling of this text here, the question text. And as mentioned, I want to use a different font family for this text as well. Now, if you don't want to use the default font here, as we're currently doing it, there are different ways of adding custom fonts. And attached you find a link which would explain you how you could add custom fonts by importing font files manually into your project folder, how you could then register these font files in your PubSpec folder and then use them in code. You can do that, but one of the easiest ways of adding custom fonts to Flutter projects is by using Google Fonts and the special Flutter Google Fonts package, which you can add to your project. Now, Google Fonts is, of course, a very popular collection of fonts that you can use in all kinds of projects, and adding them to Flutter is super easy because of this official Google Fonts package, which you can add to your project. Now, attached you also find a link to this package here, where you can learn more about the package and how to get started with it. But of course, in this lecture, we're also going to add and use it together. Now, adding extra packages to Flutter projects is something you'll typically do quite a lot when building Flutter apps, because there are different packages for all kinds of things, and you will see various extra third-party packages being added to Flutter projects throughout this course. This pub.dev site is the official Dart package site, which is used for hosting and listing all those third-party packages which you could add. And for every package, you find an entry that looks something like this, where you got a README site with various pieces of information about this package, where you find a changelog telling you what changed with the latest versions of that package that have been released, where you might find some examples, and where you find some installation instructions. And that's now the important part for us here, because as a first step, we'll have to install this package. And this can be done by copying this command here, which you see here. With that copied in your project, you should open your terminal, and in Visual Studio Code, you can open this terminal by going to View, Appearance, Panel. And this is then your default system terminal just integrated into Visual Studio Code and already navigated into this project folder. And there you can now run this command which you just copied from this package site. In this case, flutter pub add Google Fonts. Now this command will now install this package into this project. And as part of this installation process, once it's done running that installation process, it will also edit the pubspec.yaml file. In that file, you should now find this new package added here under dependencies. So here's dependencies, and nested below dependencies, you find this new package with its latest version, which of course might be a different version at the point of time you're viewing this. Now with this added, we can use it, and you'll learn how to use it here in this README part of the package page, but thankfully using it is also super simple. In the end, you go to the text widget where you want to use one of these Google fonts. So here for me, for example, that's in the questions screen widget, and there it's this text widget here. And you replace the existing style object here with a new object that is imported from this Google Fonts package. For this, of course, you must add an import at the top, where you import from this Google Fonts package, and there from the Google Fonts Dart file. This must be added in order to use these Google Fonts package features in this file. And with that import added down here, where I just removed this style object, you can now use Google Fonts dot, and then you have a broad variety of methods here, a broad variety of constructor functions to be precise, where these different functions map to different font families. And you can visit fonts.google.com to get an overview of all these available font families and to find their names. And for example, for me here, I want to use this Lato font here. And in order to do that, I therefore access Google Fonts.Lato and execute this like a function. And this then allows you to again set all these values you could have set on that text style object before as well. So for example, to apply a text color. But in addition to those settings, it will now also apply this font family. So the Lato font family in my case here. And here, in addition to setting this text to be white, I also want to change the font size and set this to maybe 24. And change the font weight here and set this to font weight.bold, which is one of the predefined font weight values you can use because the font weight argument wants a font weight value. With that, if we save this, you now see that the question text looks differently, that a different font is used, and that it's a bit bigger. Now I also want to tweak the color a little bit, and for that I'll hover over colors white, and I'll pick some light purplish color. Maybe like this. Yeah, I think that looks a bit nicer now. I'll just also turn this into a const value here, and with that you now also know how you can add third-party packages and how you can change the font families. Of course, you can now not just do this here for this question text, but we could also do it on the start screen, for example, for this text here, Learn Flutter the Fun Way. We could replace text style here also with Google Fonts. For that, of course, we must import package Google Fonts and there the Google Font start file. And then here maybe also use the Lato font or whichever font family you want to use. Now this just can't be const anymore, and instead it's just the color that can be set to a const value now. Because these Google Fonts objects, which are created with these font family constructor functions, are actually not marked as const constructors, and therefore you can't use const in front of the text widget anymore. So with that, if you force a reload, you now also see a different font family being used here for this text on the starting page.